All right, so this exercise is called the 1.5 rep RDL. The cool thing about this is when we're building the hamstrings are built off the stretch phase of a movement quite well. Most people know hamstring strength, hamstring growth comes from heavy loads, long eccentrics, or again, the stretch phase movements. Look at a sprinter. That's a heavy explosive movement. They have huge hamstrings. Power lifters, Olympic lifters, they use heavy weights in explosive manners, huge hamstrings. A lot of bodybuilders who build hamstrings, they usually don't actually go over that 6 to 8 rep range. The reason being is they like to slow things down. So they create a huge negative, creating massive tension and a big stretch in the hamstrings. That's a great way to build your hamstrings. Exactly why I like this particular exercise, because you can actually go a little bit lighter and get that same exact effect, making it a little bit safer on your joints, easier on your low back, and you can really get that pump or that mind muscle connection with your hamstring. So what I'm gonna do is every single rep is gonna be 1.5 reps. So at the bottom of each rep, I'm actually gonna do a pumping movement to create a more of an emphasis on that stretch, on that negative. So feet are pretty narrow on this. I'm gonna go hip width apart or even just a little bit closer. Keeping my back flat, I'm gonna sit my hips into it as far as I can, sitting into my glutes all the way down, halfway up till about the knee, back down into that stretch, and then finally drive all the way through. So if you look at this from the side, you can see how flat my back is, and my main goal here is to bring my hips to that back wall. So if you can stand by a wall, your goal is to keep your heels planted, but reach your butt back as far as possible. That's gonna create the biggest stretch, and that's the main key component of this movement. So keeping my knuckles close to my thighs, letting them almost slide down, tension, tension, back stays flat, all the way down as low as I can while maintaining that flat back posture, halfway back up to about the bottom of my knee, back down, drive my hips through and squeeze my glutes. So a little bit faster now, all the way down, a little bit of pump, back through. Sitting back, sitting back, sitting back, big stretch, emphasize that stretch, drive through. Couple things to be aware of here. My knuckles are literally touching my legs. The reason being is if I don't keep them close and I let them stray away, what do my shoulders do? They protract forward, and now I'm rounding my back, so my posture is bad. I'm more likely to hurt my lower back in that position. If I keep them close, it's easier to think about bending the bar, especially since we don't have a bar here, which means I can keep my shoulders packed, my lats stay fired, keeping them very close, my back stays nice and flat, and this is a big key component. I need this back nice and flat, keeping all my tension in my hamstrings. At that bottom mark, again, halfway up, emphasize that big stretch phase, and then drive your hips through. You can do this with almost any exercise. A bench press all the way down, halfway up, back down, squat all the way down, halfway up. It's a great way to build more tension, go a little bit lighter, and emphasize the intensity of the actual exercise. And once again, this is the 1.5 rep dumbbell RDL.